And now, the time fight fans all across the globe have been waiting for. It's the main card with your man, The Voice. As always, in the opposite corner, my mano e mano, my verbal sparring partner, the man who's trying to be like me, making your crown match your cape, none other than Wildress Ruffin. What's going on, Ruff?
What's going on, boss? Everybody know, man, how I do with the Philly hats, man. I'm him, man. This is who I am. But I'm excited, voice. You know why?
Because
It's smoke o'clock.
Yes, sir.
You know what we here for? We here for the smoke, man. We got a great show for y'all, man. We got a clash of some major heavyweights for a major title coming up. We're gonna talk a little WWE, but of course, first we're gonna get into those KOs and low blows because we got something that we need to get into from last week of a showdown of some sorts. Voice, you ready?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's get into it. Now, voice, last weekend, we of course talked about the Vegas showdown, which was the MMA UFC bout going head to head with Canelo versus Berlanger. Now, for the first time, the UFC was actually having one of their amazing events in the Sphere, located in Vegas. Everybody's seen the Sphere, and it was an amazing event. Well, voice, after the head-to-head last week, who do you think came out victorious? Now, I want to give you some lead-in before you decide to go here. Now, I found out some information. Canelo Alvarez's fight Saturday drew a gate of around 17 million and about 650,000 pay-per-view units. That's with a sold-out crowd of 20,312 people. Now, the $17 million gate compares to what UFC said was a $22 million gate for its card, meaning the combat sports actually sold nearly 40 million in tickets this past weekend in Las Vegas. Now, the TGP promotions owner Tom Brown stated, commercially, it probably panned out a lot better than we thought. Voice, what are your thoughts on that?
I think, well, or at least in doing my research, I heard that sellout crowd of 22.3 at T-Mobile netted them about 22 million. It was like the same amount as they made at the Sphere. I think as far as that's concerned, I think that's absolutely fantastic if that's indeed what happened. The one thing that I call sour milk on, I'm not going to say things that come out of bulls behinds. What I'm going to call sour milk on is 750,000 pay-per-view buys. This was Edgar Berlanga. That the fight with Munguia, which had all of Mexico going at it. Okay, now granted, yeah, you got Mexico and you got Puerto Rico, but come on, Puerto Ricans don't even claim Berlanga like that. I can tell you they don't claim Berlanga like that because when I was there watching the fight, there was a guy who had a Puerto Rico World Baseball cap on. And I was like, oh, yeah. I was like, I know you're going for Canelo. He was like, yeah. And I was like, okay, he's joking. No, he was going for Canelo. So, yeah, that's I call poppycock on and shenanigans on that 750,000 pay-per-view. As far as the gates are concerned, as I stated last week on this show, there were different bases that were going to see both fights. Right. And the other fights going on wasn't going to stop the fact that you had people who wanted to see the UFC at the Sphere, and you had people that wanted to see Canelo.
Yeah, I mean, I think the big draws for both were the fact that it's Canelo. I mean, Canelo's the biggest draw in boxing right now that you can say. And the UFC card is literally, from what they're saying, is a one-time event at the Sphere.
Exactly.
Like the Sphere sells out just for the simplest of things. So to be able to see a UFC fight there, and from the videos that I've seen, like people loved it. Now the pay-per-view unit voice was 650,000 and not 750. So I don't know if that makes a difference for your poppycock.
Nope, still poppycock because I saw 750 on multiple, or I should say multiple times. So yeah, poppycock.
Yeah, I always try to get the most up to date numbers right before our show, and these numbers were provided to me, literally maybe about 2-3 hours ago. So we'll see what
I believe that you got the information and that whoever presented it as being truthful. I just don't believe.
Okay. Well, one more question before we move on to the next thing. What do you come up with next for the champions of both? I mean, as we saw O'Malley, take his loss, and then we saw Canelo hold on to his, and we saw, of course, Bud Crawford, aka Kendrick Lamar, as they say, calling for his next opportunity. So, what should we make for the new champion and the old champion?
For the new champion, I believe that he will face Umar Nurmagomedov next. Biggest name that's in the division who has not fought for the title, undefeated. He's next. I'm a little concerned about that bout because both men primarily are wrestlers. Umar is Usman, who won a couple weeks ago, is Usman's little brother, but he doesn't have Usman's striking skills. He's much more like Habib in his workman-like effort, and people were down on the UFC card because of the grapple-heavy victories in the co-main and the main event. So from that perspective, I still don't know who really won the night. I think that as far as the UFC in the Sphere is concerned, because that was a once in a lifetime deal, and watching it now, definitely I was at Dave and Buster's. Salute to Dave and Buster's because they had both of them on. My eyes were always drawn to the UFC card because of the pageantry, not necessarily to the boxing card, even though you had that stoppage of Danny Garcia, which the fight shouldn't have happened in the first place. So that's probably why I wasn't as drawn to that. And then, when the Canelo fight was going on again, when the pageantry was going on, eyes on the UFC. Outside of that, I was trying to catch Canelo fight. So I still don't know who really won the fight. I think the card that'll be the most memorable, though, will be the UFC.
Okay. Well, I mean, sounds like it. TKO right now is on the roll between the UFC and the WWE. So excited to see what's going to be up next on the horizon for them both.
I'm sorry, I didn't say what was up next for Canelo. For Canelo, it really depends on what happens in a couple weeks when Bivol and Beterbiev face off. If Bivol is victorious, Canelo's already said that's the fight I want. If he loses, though, he's warming up to the idea of fighting Crawford.
I would love to see it because Bud has already called his shot and said, "Listen, I'll knock him out." So it'll be definitely interesting to see. Like you spoke about earlier, shout out to Danny Swift Garcia. I know a lot of people are saying that this may be the end for him. If it is, an amazing career for one of Philly's greatest. Thank you for what you've done for the sport. If this is the end, hopefully it's not, but I definitely understand. Like we said, TKO right now is on a run between UFC and WWE. They're literally knocking it out the park with every event right now.
Yeah, they are. And speaking of knocking things out the park, when it comes to what I'm now going to refer to as Ruffin's ring walk, I wanted to talk about the fact that NXT was coming to St. Louis, but I guess we can talk about that a little later. I had a slide all set up and everything, and then the King of the Ring said, "Hold on, Lil Dirty, this is my spot. This is where I do what I do, and I want to talk about the Bad Blood match is coming up, which needs to be talked about." No, we can wait on it. That's October 8th. We got a minute.
Well, no, I mean, we can go into that, but I'll lead you in there.
It's all right. It's all right. I've pivoted. I'll wait,
hey,
and we'll talk about it later. And then plus I still got the slide, so I want to use it, and I don't have it loaded right now. So we'll wait.
That's why you want to wait. Definitely, Bad Blood
No.
is gonna be coming up in a few weeks, man, and it's huge. If you got a chance to see SmackDown recently, you saw the Bloodline literally. Their new show is now on USA Network, so it's literally the season premiere for them, and it was huge. You saw Solo Sikoa face Cody Rhodes for the WWE Championship in a steel cage, which, of course, if you know anything about these steel cage matches, even when it ends, somebody always ends up getting beat down. And this time you saw Cody taking the beat down from the Bloodline, and then who comes in to make the save? The original, or what he likes to say is the only tribal chief, Roman Reigns. This led to a stare down and even a beat down to Roman somewhat before Roman actually stood tall. And somehow it led to a match and a challenge from Solo and Jacob for Roman and Cody. Now, originally, Cody didn't want any parts of it. Roman had to even come out to the ring and say, I don't need Cody Rhodes. I don't want Cody Rhodes. This is family business. And he was ready to go on it by himself. Of course, the Bloodline showed up. Fisticuffs happened. And SmackDown goes off the air with Cody Rhodes signing the contract to main event the Bad Blood card, which is going to be in Atlanta. Shout out to Boss Man, he may go to the event. I'm not sure or not. But that's going to be the main event for that card. It's going to be a tag team match between Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes, two of the biggest rivals ever, facing off against Roman's family, Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu, and this is going to be huge.
Here's my question regarding this. So I said I'd already pivoted mentally. I don't even know what I was going to talk about before, but I'll talk about it when I get to my notes later. My mind is here on Bad Blood. There are 3 different outcomes that I could see happening, and I want to know which one of these do you think is most likely and why. Okay. I could see Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns kind of doing an old school superpowers thing back when Dusty Rhodes, Cody's dad, teamed up with Nikita Koloff, and they made the superpowers. Or maybe that was Hulk Hogan. It was somebody.
You think about the mega powers? It was Hulk Hogan and Macho Man Randy Savage.
No, it was the superpowers because it was Russia and it was the U.S.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is the mega powers were Hulk Hogan and Macho Man.
Okay, well, it wasn't that. It was the superpowers, and it didn't live long, but that's what happened. Do you think that maybe they'll go on a run together, or do you think that that Cody will turn on Roman with the new bloodline, beat him down, or will the bloodline say, you know what, family first, and turn on Cody?
I actually don't see none of those 3 happening. I personally think this is a setup for November's Survivor Series match. I think ultimately what you're going to see is you're going to see more new bloodline members, and ultimately Roman is going to have to get his family back together and get the OG bloodline back together for that 4-on-4 2 cage match that is, happened for years. If you're not familiar with Survivor Series is always a huge match, but a lot of times they do war games. So I think this is going to lead to a war game style matchup at Survivor Series. I do believe that Cody is actually going to be moving on to his next opponent. I'm not sure who that next opponent is going to be, but ultimately Cody and Roman are going to have to lock in again. Now, I do believe there's a chance we could see The Rock return. Cody faces The Rock before he faces Roman.
That's been, I've seen something. I want to say, as I was looking for different images, I saw something that said it was confirmed that The Rock's, and it may even be his last in-ring appearance, but that he was confirmed for Bad Blood.
I personally don't think his last in-ring appearance is going to be against Cody. I think ultimately they still want to pivot to Rock and Roman, because that's the big money match. That's the match everyone's been clamoring to see for years. I think we may end up getting that possibly at WrestleMania somehow. I don't know if it'll be for a title or not, but I do think that we get Cody versus I think we probably end up getting Cody versus Jacob Fatu. I also think we get Cody versus The Rock, but I think ultimately the finish off for this is going to be the tribal chief and the final boss, and it's going to be supremacy for who is truly the head of the table.
All right. Well, looking forward to those things, and looking forward to getting a little more information, because I'm still on the outside looking in, and to my knowledge, the old bloodline is just the original tribal chief. I thought everybody else was in the new bloodline, but we'll delve into that a little bit further on a different day. What we will do is take a pause for the cause, and when we come back, we will talk about the heavyweight bout going down across the pond. About 100K in the building for AJ versus Dubois. It's the main card. Keep it locked.
It's not just about the love of the game. It's about dedication and commitment through the process, and the patience to endure. There's joy in reaching your goals, and peace in knowing you've done all you're supposed to do. Ozell brand. It's not just a brand, it's a lifestyle.
Awesome. Welcome back. Oh, boys. We're about to get into some heavyweight clash going on. Anthony Joshua, voice. I mean, he's had a nice little return to the mountain after being knocked down. Now he's actually going to be gearing up for a great bout. Those 3 losses that we always talk about, but he's going to be facing a formidable opponent in Daniel Dubois, who was recently made the IBF World Heavyweight Champion. Now, Joshua, who's literally the 2012 Olympic gold medalist, he said he's on a mission. He's on a win streak, and after delivering a brutal knockout to one of Voice's own, Francis Ngannou, he stated he's trying to get back to it after literally being hurt by a hard 2021 and 2022. He stated, "I've worked hard and I've been through a lot of pain to get better. Hopefully those experiences won't happen again, because as you saw that night, I don't like losing." He was speaking of being driven to tears after his loss. Now his eyes are literally set on joining heavyweight legends, voice. He's looking to become a 3-time world champion. He's looking to join legends such as Muhammad Ali, Lennox Lewis, Evander Holyfield, and Vitaly Klitschko. Now he's determined, and he said that he's ready. He said, "I think I'm gifted with an ability to fight and compete. In boxing, you're able to read certain tendencies, you're able to read your opponent, so I can always have an open eye for that. But there's a supreme level that you can take it to, and it's happened over the past 8 to 10 months for me. I really feel like I've honed in on those skills." Now, I mean, it is great that he feels that way, but he's not facing a slouch, voice. He's facing Daniel Dubois. This is a fighter that Anthony Joshua himself has called a good and brilliant fighter. This is all despite their past tension, which apparently included an incident where Joshua threatened to throw a chair at Dubois' head and told him, "Stay in your lane." Now, Anthony Joshua said he's not taking this lightly, despite the fact that there's other people who are waiting for him once he wins this bout for championship opportunities. He said that the Dubois skills are in high regard and that everyone speaks highly of him. He said, "I think they underestimate me as well, just like they do him. So I'm going to go out there and prove how good I am." Voice, Anthony sounds like he is completely locked in and focused and just looking to return to glory. How are you feeling about his statements and his goals for becoming a 3-time champion?
I think the 3-time champion piece is more of something that Eddie Hearn wants to see happen for him because of the legacy aspect of it. He said time and time again, it's not really about that. It's about going in and doing the best that I can do and imposing my will. I'm not really concerned about the money. I'm not concerned about the titles. I'm just concerned about doing my very best and imposing my will. And he really has to have that kind of mindset because this is for legacy. You know, this could be his last shot at becoming a champion. And here's the thing that gets talked about maybe across the pond, but not so much here. They have history together. They used to spar when Danny was a little up and coming young punk 16-year-old. And based on the legend that goes around the globe, Danny knocked out Joshua in sparring, hurt him bad, got the better of him when he was 16 years old. Now, granted, that was 10 years ago. A lot has happened between that time for both men, but that's still something that definitely is on his mind whenever he's interviewed and he talks about it. You just see him smile real big and, you know, and grin because he feels like, look, I got the better of him when I was a kid. I'm a grown man now with grown man strength. What's he gonna do now? And he's been very, very confident. Dubois has been. A number of the people that have been on the ground there and interviewing has talked about how calm Dubois seems, how he's just been laughing and joking and having a good time. And based on everything that I can see, they're right. And a calm, collected person, especially in a position like this. Has he been in big fights before? Absolutely. He fought Usyk. Really can't get much bigger than that. But have you ever been in front of nearly 100,000 people at one time? No. And that should bring a level of trepidation that you don't see. Now, granted, he may be a little cocky in this. You know, he may not be taking the moment to be as big as it is, or he's just that comfortable. Either way it goes, it should be a phenomenal fight. And there's something that he said that does concern me. The fighters that he's fought since he lost to Usyk versus the fighters that Joshua's fought since he lost to Usyk, totally different caliber of people. The only thing about that does play into Joshua's favor is that he's fought twice as many people as Dubois has. So he's the fresher fighter. This would be the second fight, or I should say he's the fighter who's had more recent experience. You know, so he's not trying to work off as much ring rust. Dubois' last fight was last year, where Joshua was in March. So it's going to be interesting from that perspective to see how the reps, if they work better than the rest that Dubois has gotten.
I can definitely see your point there. I mean, you know, since his back-to-back losses to Usyk, Joshua is 4-0 in his last few bouts, with that last, of course, being the KO against Francis Ngannou. But I mean, when you look at Daniel Dubois currently, I mean, of his 21 wins, voice, 20 of those are by knockout. In his last 7 fights, he's 6-1. Like you said, you talked about the loss to Usyk, which was that round 9 KO, and that was for those heavyweight titles. But every other bout, voice, has been a knockout, with 4 of those coming before the 5th round. So Joshua's up against pretty stiff competition, and Daniel Dubois, I thought maybe he was older. He's only 27.
Yeah.
So you know, it's going to be an amazing bout. We're either going to see a return to glory for Anthony Joshua, or we're going to see Daniel Dubois continue on. And what I mean, voice, do we possibly, if Daniel Dubois wins, do we see a unification again happen between him and Usyk?
If Usyk beats Tyson Fury for the second time at the end of this year, it's possible. Because anything's possible. I don't know where the motivation for Usyk would be to do that. Let me fight again for a belt that I dropped because the sanctioning body wouldn't give me time to make this other fight. I mean, he literally got stripped within about a month of beating Usyk.
Yeah.
I mean, of beating Fury. So I don't know what the motivation is really for Usyk. He's done it all. He beats Fury again. There are no challenges. What better way to ride off into the sunset than to be undefeated in the best of your era?
Yeah, well, there you have it. It's going to be an exciting bout. Make sure you all are following The Voice on Twitter or X at The Voice. He's going to be, of course, following up and providing great play-by-play for that. We like to prepare you for the best in combat sports week in and week out so that your weekend is filled with everything that you need to see. And while this may be the end of the show, we do have some final fights for you. Voice, tell us about what else we should be looking for this weekend.
Well, this weekend, you've got a lot of boxing going on. Not much MMA, but a lot of boxing. On Friday, you have a card by Top Rank, which features Jaime Munguia, I believe, fighting for the first time for this promotion. You also have Richard Torres Jr., silver medalist in not the past Olympic Games, but in Rio. He's, coming back. He had a loss recently, and he's been storming back. You also have the son of Fernando Vargas, Emiliano, who's been on a tear, fighting on that card on Friday. And then on Saturday, of course, we know we have the fight card between Dubois and AJ. I'm going to say it in the order it should be, not what the flyers say and not what everything else is. Dubois is the champion, so Dubois and AJ. On that card, you have Hamza Shiraz in action. You have Josh Warrington making a return to the ring. And you also have Joshua Buatsi, who is a burgeoning superstar as far as I want to say he fights around light heavyweight or so, somewhere in there. But yeah, Joshua Buatsi is no joke. And you have these rising stars on the biggest stage possible.
Awesome. Sounds like an amazing weekend. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what we do. Thank you for tuning in every Tuesday, 7:15 Eastern Standard Time. It's smoke o'clock. This is what we do for you. We are MTMV Sports. We bring you the best of all sports that you need. Basketball, boxing, HBCU. What else do we provide? Football. We provide everything. If you have not shared or subscribed, make sure you subscribe to MTMV Sports. Make sure that you share it with all your friends. We are literally on every podcast forum that you could want, so you can take us everywhere. Okay? Like, share, and subscribe. We here. We ain't going nowhere. MTMV Sports. It's me, your man, The Voice. Voice, take us out.
One thing that I did forget to say is there was an announcement recently within the past couple days that Johnny Eblin, the man of many names, I don't even know what name he's going by now, but former Diamond Hands, former the Matrix or whatever King Mo called him, the human highlight, the human game, the whatever. He's taking on Leon's little brother again, Fabian Edwards, for a second time. This is on that same PFL card that features Francis Ngannou and Renan Ferreira, that features Cyborg fighting Larissa Pacheco. Now you add this to the mix. Oh, and the PFL has a MENA card. MENA stands for Middle East, North Africa. That regional promotion will have a card this weekend, as well as LFA and Octagon and a number of other things. I think Victor has a card this weekend too. So lots and lots of fights going on this weekend. And until next time. Oh, that ain't the slide. There's the slide. I messed it up. So let's bring it back. Until next time, fight the good fight, everyone.